Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night. We're broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107 FM, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Hello, I'm Don Yazzie, your host. I'm going to be introducing my co-host, the one and only Darren Yazzie, and our guest of honor, T. Oh, hey,
Hey, hey, what's up? How's it going?
yeah.
Uh,
Oh man, what happened to T? T got kicked off. Oh man, but yeah,
uh,
let's give T another moment or two to get on. He kicked himself
yeah.
off. But hello,
Well,
what's up? What's up?
yeah, T is
There he
actually
is.
one of the first interviews
There
we
he
did,
is.
huh? We had back in
Yeah,
the day.
yeah.
Well, it's good.
Here's our guest of honor. T. He's our very first guest. Like just like Darren was saying, he's our very first guest. And hey, T, you want to say hello to our people out there?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. Well, nice to have you back here, T. We can do a continuation on the your experiences, huh?
What's up,
Yeah.
Jenny? Hi, guys. What's up, Jenny? What's up?
Hey, what's up,
Nice
man?
to see you joining us here. Hello. But yeah, T. Go ahead and tell the listeners out there that have not seen your episode just a little bit about yourself, and or as much as you want to share about yourself, and yeah. Then we'll go from there.
All right. Yeah, I'm T, and I live on Navajo Nation in New Mexico, and I just met up with these guys and decided to tell stories. That what was true and what happened to share with people that are way out there listening, and to see, to have them know what's going on our nation, because they probably think our nation's like secretive and stuff like that we don't really share things out of our culture and stuff like that.
Yep, that's very true. It's kind of a nice thing to talk about this stuff. I know I have one uh, lady on Facebook. She was saying like she even gave us like 13 minutes in one of the episodes. So I seen something like that too. So like it's good to know that people out there that are experiencing same stuff. So this is a good platform for everybody to get together and chit chat about what happens at night and their experiences too.
Hmm.
What's up, Kurt W75, Don and Darren? Great to see you
Yeah.
guys. What's up, Kurt? He that guy right there, Kurt. Um I was on the other podcast the other day chit chatting about the different toe tracks that we found on the res. This is like Bigfoot, maybe Bigfoot because there's four toe and three toe, and
Hmm.
each of these toe are like about they have claws coming out like an inch claw.
Huh.
Yeah, and that guy Kurt, he sent me a link. Some guy on the East Coast that he posted a three toe track. I
Huh.
was like, what in the world, three toe track? And then I got a hold of my predecessor, William Jevening. I got a hold of him. I was like, what do you make of these three toe track? And we have a friend that used to work for the government, and he said that those three toe tracks were dropped off by the ET. They're dropped off
Huh.
here from another planet, and they look like that. Remember that sea monster? The guy, the old school sea monster with like he has. I can't remember what that movie was called. The old school movie.
I think I
Yeah,
know what you're talking about, the one with, like, the flipper hands almost.
yeah. He's green.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
the
like a fish man. He's like he has like yeah, but
oh,
yeah, yeah,
Maybe. Yeah.
or you
yeah.
talk
So
about
he
the
was
teacher from the Blue Lagoon or Black Lagoon or something like that.
that one. Yeah, yeah, that one. Right on with that one. But yeah, he said that they got dropped off. Yeah, the creature
Hmm.
of the Black Lagoon, right here, creature of the Black Lagoon. Okay, Yeah, that's what William and that's what William Jevening was telling you. No problem, Kurt.
Mm,
Yeah, so yeah, our government insider told us that government knows about them, and they live around water areas, and the areas that the tracks are found is near a lake. So
mm.
watch out, Lake Powell, watch out, San Juan River. So that guy lives all along that whole area. He's
Huh.
not the only guy. That black serpent too. But yeah, T, go ahead and tell us about your story on Bigfoot. We're just going down here. But yeah, T,
All
go
right.
ahead and tell us about your Bigfoot stories.
Yeah, the one that was recently was like I believe 2 weeks ago, and that one was at the lake. We're fishing there, and it was probably around about 12, 1 ish, and we're night fishing for catfish. So we had our little lamps up and stuff like that. And there was about, I believe, five of us, five grown ups, and the other two went in the truck because it kind of got cold. And me and the other guy and another one of his nephews were just fishing, going along our business and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, we just heard someone yelling on the other side of the lake because there's a national forest right there, and we thought someone was drinking, like yelling up in the mountains. And me and he was my cousin and he was like, "Hey, did you hear that?" And because I was like too busy because I had a little Bluetooth speaker and I was listening to some music, and he was telling me, "Hey, there's someone across drinking. I think he's up there on the mountains yelling, or on that side of the dam." And I turned it off and we're listening, and it sounded almost like a big man. And I was listening, and I knew what it was already because no one goes on that side to fish. And like during the night, they stay on the other side where everybody else is at. And I told him, "No, that's something else." And we're listening to it, and it was pretty loud too. It sounded like it was like little far back into the woods, but to us, it sounded like right across the lake. That's how loud it was, and you could feel like little vibrations from it yelling. And we didn't really pay anything, like pay attention to it. And all of a sudden we heard a horse, right, like I'd say a few hundred yards. There's like a little flat area with trees in there, and we heard a horse running around making noise, like you could hear it kicking too. And we heard like the horse running like all fours. You know how a horse sounds like, you could hear him running, and it'll stop, and then you could hear like just two big thuds, like maybe
Bipedal.
five or six times right after, and then the horse starts making noise and starts kicking, and it would run the opposite way. And we're just listening to it for about, I'd say, good 10, 12 minutes. And my cousin was saying, "Oh, I think there's a mountain lion chasing it." And I told him, "Look, just listen. When the horse stops, look, listen, you'll hear like loud thuds." And the horse stops, and we're listening, and you could hear it like real loud, like boom, 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 like that. Just like two steps, like someone was running, like a heavy person. And
Bipedal.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
yeah, and then that horse would start like making noise and start kicking, and it would run like toward the lake, and it'll stop, and you could hear it running after it. And then it kind of came close to us, and that's when I have like one of those big flashlights, a bright one. I shined it that way, and I could see the horse's eyes, but I couldn't see what was behind it. And after that, it kind of calmed down. That horse was like walking around by the water, and then we started hearing people that live on that side in the woods, their dogs barking. And right there, I was like, maybe I would have crossed the road because there's a highway there. And me and my
Mm.
cousin were standing behind a truck, and all of a sudden, we just heard like something making noise, like an ape. It was going ooh 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 like an ape, like that, and it was loud too. And he's all like, "Did you hear that?" And my cousin was like, "Oh, it sounds like a effing monkey," he was saying. And I was like, "Yeah, did you hear that?" And he's all, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And then he ran to the truck and he told his sisters, "There's something over there. I think it's a Sasquatch." And they opened the windows and they were listening, and it was making noise like pretty much hours because we're just we just forgot about fishing and we're just listening to it. And they were saying you should record it, you should record it. And I was like, you probably can't really hear it with the phone that far. You'll probably just hear dogs barking, you know.
Yeah.
And it was teasing. It was weird though. It was teasing someone's dog over there. It
Hmm.
was like the dog would bark and then it'll growl, and you could hear it growl too, like a real deep growl. And the dog would stop for a couple of minutes, and then more would bark, and it'll start like um how would you say, like screaming, like a weird scream. And the dogs would all like shut up, and then that big dog that it was teasing will start barking and growling, and you'll hear it growling back to the dog. And it was weird. It was like we're just listening to it, and he was like um looking at me with his eyes all big. He's all like, I heard it. And his sisters were like, yeah, I can hear it, I can hear it. And all of a sudden it started moving backward, like away from those dogs. It was like making like little grunts and yelling at the same time. And it went pretty far, like a couple miles way in the woods. You could hear it yelling way up there. And then like a few seconds later it'll be right back where it was. And it covered ground that fast just to get, where it was, to back to the dogs. And it was like teasing the dogs or something, or I don't know what it was doing. And there was people in a camper like I'd say about 50 yards down from us. And that lady that lady was like, "Oh, did you hear that? I hear a Bigfoot. Did you hear that Bigfoot?" And all those white people came out, and they're all shining their lights around, and they're actually standing there listening to it too. And then they're like, "Oh, that's crazy! That's crazy! We heard it. We can hear it." And we're just like looking at them. And um, after that, before it took off back toward the woods, it like grabbed a big old branch, and it like broke the branch, and you could hear the echo all the way toward the lake from where it was. And where those people live, it was, I'd say, about a mile and a half, 2 miles away. And I heard that branch break from that distance.
Hmm.
And then after that, it started moving back because you could hear um, yelling way, way back there. There's like a little high point ridge back there. It sounded like he was on top of that ridge. You could just hear it yelling. And then after that, we just packed up and left. And I don't know if it was still harassing whoever lived right there in that area.
Hmm.
That was a recent one that happened.
Yeah.
Wow. Uh,
You can really hear the bipedal, huh, when he's running.
Yeah,
Sounds like a helicopter propeller. Duk, duk, duk.
yeah, that's how it
hmm.
sounds.
You can feel it too, like if he's close. Actually, when he's really close, you can really feel the ground. And especially if there's more than one, it sounds like a lot of horses running away too. You feel it as well. It's
Yeah.
Hmm.
cool. Yeah. Darren, what were you gonna
Uh,
say?
where's this? What lake is this, and how big is this lake? Like,
It's Blue Water Lake. It's pretty big.
oh,
It comes up. It's like I'd say like a Y shape, and it's probably
hmm.
about, I'd say, maybe 2.5, 3 miles.
Huh.
And then like
Uh,
maybe it's pretty big though.
hmm. How long did all this take place? Or how long were you
This
guys
was
there to?
recently. Oh, like how long the encounter lasted, or
Yeah, yeah. How long you guys
um,
stood around for the?
it was like, I'd say 2, 3 hours. It was just like on and off, going on and off.
Oh, oh, so, huh? You,
Yeah, we were just listening to it for a while
hmm,
because there's people that had like they seen stuff like that, but they're not too sure if it was it or not in that area. But there's like a road further back in. They said they seen and heard stuff like that way back there. And I know the whole area, and it's It's pretty thick in there. There's a lot of water, a lot of food that they can eat. There's berries and stuff like that in there.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
especially berries. That's pretty
Very
awesome.
interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, if my cousin was here, he'll probably tell you the same thing I'm telling you too. He'll probably be like, "Yeah, it's crazy that I heard it before the first time and stuff."
Hmm. Well,
Yes.
we'd like to hear it. Maybe we can do a little mini interviews like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Jenny
so
Pond says over by Mount right here. Jenny Pond says over by Mount Taylor slash Giants.
hmm.
Right here it says myth, monsters, and mullets. I'm late. Can you start over? LOL, JK. Hey, what's up, Carolyn? Says hi, everyone. I
Hey.
have you shared out. Thank you, Carolyn. Appreciate that.
Mm,
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I was on
there was
both of
some
these
stuff
guys'
that
podcasts. Yeah, go ahead.
there
Sorry.
was some stuff that I seen kind of out of the ordinary when I go up to Mount Taylor, and like because I look for shed antlers and stuff like that, and I hike a lot, and I do about like 15, 20 miles, maybe more in a day. I would cover pretty much the whole mountain, and like like when you get way to the top, you'll see like because up there they got blueberry bushes, and I seen a little bit of strawberry bushes and stuff like that, but there was like those red I think the red
Raspberry.
raspberries. Yeah, you'll see like a bunch of them like eating and stuff, and you'll see like little huts and stuff like that inside those bushes because they're like little thorns on them,
Yeah.
and it seems like there's someone, like something that sits in there and stuff like that, and you'll see branches broken in there, like the branches off like the raspberry bushes and stuff like that, and they got like gooseberries and stuff up there, and mushrooms too, like the big mushrooms that are red with little white dots on them. They got a bunch up
mm,
there, and you'll see um like the top of the mushrooms, like someone grabbed them and squished them off, like kind of peeled a piece of it off, and like you could actually see like little, like someone like a human just grabbed it and you know like just pulled it apart and stuff like that. I would
Mm,
back then there was like I wasn't really skeptical on that, and I just thought it was like a bear, but I seen how bears eat the mushrooms. You could see like their fangs and teeth marks on them, and
yeah.
they would just like kind of grab it from the bottom and kind of rip it up and just pull the top off. But these ones were like actually grabbed and squished off, like they, pulled a piece off because those mushrooms get pretty big up there,
Mm,
like almost like a
mm,
dinner size plate. When you go way deep in the woods, they're pretty big in there.
huh.
wow. That sounds good. I like mushrooms.
Mm, yeah, and then there's like weird stuff too, like way up there because it's really thick in there, and you only see like a couple feet in front of you and stuff like that. There's a lot of deadfall and all that, and there's like weird structures up in there, but I hardly didn't take notice of them until I started seeing them. Like when the one I seen down the canyon, and when I heard them up in the woods and stuff like that. That's when it started clicking back in my mind. I was like, oh, maybe that's one of their huts and stuff like that because there's like big trees that are all built like a little shelter and stuff like that. Like a homeless was living up there.
Mm,
Mm.
yep.
No, no.
That's definitely the big guy. Like running around on the res, especially the New Mexico and Arizona border. That
Yeah.
whole area, pretty much the Oak Ridge fire. We found a lot of nests up there
Mm,
and over there on the pass too, just like you were saying. And like I found the scat as well. We took apart the scat and we found uh rabbit hair, we found pine cone, we found pinon, and found some deer hair as well, all mixed in the scat or
Hmm.
next to those huts. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
also out there too. And I had one from Bigfoot encounter of two elderly couple going to the casino out there, and they decided to uh, drive home late. From what they said, they're just too tired, so they pulled off on one of the roads right there. And early in the morning, I guess a Bigfoot came by and picked the front end of their car up and dropped the car and woke them up and scared them. Uh, After that,
Wow.
they said they never drove around at night no more. That's Bigfoot for you.
Jeez.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, T, what were you gonna say, T?
Did I ever tell you guys about that one? The one, I think this was last year during the elk season. I was guiding my nephew, my niece, and there was one that actually shook my truck and stuff like that and woke me up. And I was like, I thought I was dreaming and stuff like that. And when I got up, I seen the whole truck still like going back and forth, and you know how the antenna swings back and forth like that.
mm,
Yeah,
That it was like that, and I was like, no, I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming, and I jumped off. It was like maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I thought it was my nephews and them because they're like teenagers and stuff, and I thought they were messing with me. And I got my little headlamp and I walked up real slow to the tent and I unzipped it and they were snoring away. And I was like, no,
uh,
it can't be them. It can't be a bear too because I don't have no food or anything. Plus, you'll already know it's a bear too, though. Like they make like a noise when they're around, and you'll know if it's a bear. And this one was like, I don't know, it was crazy. You could actually hear like when you shake the back of your truck, you know how it makes that little pop noise, go boom 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 like that. It sounded like that,
mm,
and it was like, I don't know, it was maybe when I was dead asleep, it was like shaking way harder because when I got up, it was like the end of the shaking, and that's when I thought I was dreaming and stuff like that. And then that's when I looked in the tent, and then after that, I heard like someone running up the hill because there's like oak brush, a bunch of oak brush where we're at. You could just hear like maybe 4 steps, and it was already on top of that hill, and that hill is, I'd say, about maybe 50, 40 feet up. It was like kind of like a vertical hill, and it's like real thick oak brush up there. And I just heard like a few steps, and it was already quiet. And that's when I woke them up, and everybody else got up, and I told them, "Hey, what are you guys over here in back of the truck and shaking the truck?" And they're like, "No, no," because I knew it wasn't them because they were snoring away when I opened the tent, and we had the little lamp that was kind of dim, and I guess it probably sensed me getting up or something because once I turned around from looking into the tent, that's when I turned toward the darkness. I couldn't see because the lamp was like kind of blinding my vision toward the darkness, and that's when I heard steps going up there, and that's when I thought it was a. At first, I thought it was a bear because I was like kind of almost like in a panic mode, like hopefully they don't try to go into the tent because my nephew is he's probably only about, I'd say, 8 or 10 that time, and my cousins and his buddy were like 14, 15, and
mm,
that's when my reaction just like just protect them and stuff like that, and that's when I shot rounds in the air. That's when I heard it run up the hill after I shot. And then that's when they
huh,
woke up. They're all freaked out. They ran out and they're like, "What's going on?" And I told them, "No, I don't know if it was a bear or not, but there was something shaking the truck." And they were just like looking at me, and they wanted to roll up camp that right at that time. And I told them, "No, just let's just stay up." And we built a fire and we just sat around the fire and waited till the sun came up, and we heard them pack, and we moved to a different spot. I guess they
mm,
were that freaked out because
huh,
right there, right where camping was, right under like a big mountain. Because that's like the main mountain right there where we're camped on, right on bottom.
Mhm.
mm.
Yeah, that
Uh,
that that happened last year.
what What were you guys doing? Just you guys just going out camping, right?
No,
If
we're
I,
elk hunting.
oh, okay. The reason why I asked is that I also heard Bigfoot also being called elk herders. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's one of the
Elkers.
reasons why. Yeah, elk herders. And when we had our encounter, it was really uh, green. Everything was flush. Everything was good. Elk everywhere, and that's when we had our encounter that one year with that Bigfoot. So I'm kind of curious about Bigfoot just hurting elk. It kind of brought me back to your picture right here. So a lot of curious stuff about this big guy.
Elk rider, elk herder. What
Yeah.
month?
Yeah.
This is like in the fall, huh? The elk hunting season, like late November, right?
This one was muzzle loader season. That's like in mid August to the following month because it goes on for I believe 2 weeks for the youth hunt because they're
Mm.
the first ones that go out. The younger guys are the first one to go out, and then the older men and stuff like that go after. So they get like the first pick of the spots, and make their odds way higher than you know other
Yeah.
people because the earlier you go, the better it is before everybody else.
Oh, nice, huh? Right here,
Mm.
Heidi. Heidi says, "Good afternoon, Don, Darren, and T. Much love from Boulder, Colorado."
Oh yeah, I worked over there.
Oh,
Couple like I pretty much lived out there working out there when I was doing paving toward Boulder, Lakewood, and toward Bennett, Colorado. I worked all over those
Mm.
areas.
Oh,
oh,
nice.
nice, nice. Looks like we got a question for Darren here. It says, Darren, what color was your encounter?
Uh,
Like that
I think
dog
it
man?
was my dogman. That was 2017, I believe,
Oh man.
and that was uh I was actually working at an APS generating station out there in Farmington when I encountered this.
Oh
But the
wow.
Bigfoot, um, that was I would like to think maybe 2015, 14, around that time period. So I don't know, man. It's just it's New Mexico. It's it's just as beautiful as it is strange out there. You can either find yourself or lose yourself. Either way, it's worth the trip. But yeah, well, we'll do an interview on myself here in a bit because I got more stories and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, truly terrifying. But man, that's one of the reasons why we made this podcast is you know to let everybody know they're not crazy and bring comfort to those people. Because when I went through that dog man, I was by myself and I was the only person. Like how do you talk about it? How do you go about it? So uh, I had no one to talk to because like I never even thought of freaking a werewolf. So it's a good place to start. A good format to build a podcast on. Just gather stories and gather information.
Hmm.
Last
Like
question right
whatever.
here.
Yeah.
Out by Rama, she said.
Oh, the where the Bigfoot was in Rama or Pine Hill. Be more
Oh.
specific. Unit 5, Pine Hill.
Oh. Then she said those years 2015, 16, there's a lot going on out here in Rama. A lot
Yep.
going on out here in Rama. Oh, that's pretty.
Hmm.
Ooh, man. Probably, I bet you it was the fall time, huh?
Yeah.
Fall.
It was raining pretty good that year. Really
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah. They're out a lot, especially when it rains. That's how I
Hmm.
like one of these areas, the Western Navajo Nation. When it rains, that's when the best time you can find a track because they like to run around when it's raining. Especially the female rain where it's gentle. They
Mm.
really like that. Yeah. But
Yep.
yeah, T, go ahead. We can move forward. And what else you got on you? What else? Bigfoot stories you got on you?
This one, did I ever send you that video, the one I kind of picked up on the yelling and stuff like that? I think I sent it to you, but I'm not too sure
Yeah,
if I did or not. Yeah, you could hear
yeah.
like right at the end. That was during the day too, and it was like a light sprinkle that time. And that time I was with my girlfriend and stuff like that, and we're up there alone doing woods and stuff because my cousins were saying, "Yeah, we'll be up there," but they didn't show up until like 4, 5, and it was crazy. It was weird. It was like we just had that feeling because I was cutting wood too busy, and I had a feeling that something was nearby and like watching you because you get that weird feeling like someone's watching you. And that's when
Mm.
I stopped the chainsaw and I was just sitting there for a while, and that's when I started chopping wood, and then that's when I heard it, and I was like, "What's that noise?" And I heard it again, and then that's when she heard it, and she's all like, "What's that?" And we just started listening because it was too thick to even, see and kind of hear how far it is because that mountain, the whole part echoes. Like when you chop wood, you'll hear echoes like everywhere and stuff like that. You could even hear people chopping woods like 4 or 5 miles, maybe 6 miles, and it sounds like they're just right next to you.
Hmm.
And
Sound
that
carrots.
time, yeah, that time it was sprinkling too. And I told her, no, it sounds pretty far because when it's wet out, that sound travels for quite a far, like, a few miles, and it sounds like they're just like right there and stuff. That's what
Hmm.
I heard up there too. And you just get like a weird, eerie feeling when you go up there yourself too. And it's like, you always, not paying attention doing your wood hauling, you're paying more attention on like what's around you and stuff like that. That's why when I go out there myself, I would always have my gun on my holster and stuff like that already loaded just in case, something happens, or if I get into, something, I could just drop everything and just grab it out and defend myself in any way. Because
That's
there's
true.
nobody that lives close to there. There's a house up there, but I hardly see anybody in and out of that house and stuff like that. And where I go to woods at, it's like maybe more than 10 miles in. It's pretty deep in there, and hardly anyone goes up there. I don't know why.
There's a good reason why, I'm sure. somebody
Yeah,
knows. Somebody knows why. Stay off of there. Um,
yeah. There was an old guy that I guess during the winter he got stuck up there in the snow, and he had to sleep out there in his truck. And he said he seen one looking in through his windshield, his front windshield, because he was sitting in the truck sleeping. And he said he opened his eyes all of a sudden, and he seen one looking inside his truck. And he said he was watching it for a while, walking around his truck and stuff like that. And it got to the point where um, the search and rescue were called out, like the Navajo Nation police and stuff like that, and they had to go out there and find him. And he was stranded out there for, I believe, 15 hours, something like that. And
Hmm.
that's when he was telling everybody, because he's like an older guy. Like I'd say back then he was about maybe his late 60s, maybe 60, and they thought he was crazy. And my my cousin's dad was one of the people that found him during the rescue and stuff like that, and he was telling him that what he's seen and stuff like that. And by the time they were gonna look for the tracks and stuff like that, there was already like people walking around there, and like the people that were searching and stuff like that, they probably disturbed all the tracks and stuff. Because I know Bigfoot, they try to hide their tracks and stuff, because it happened to me in the Zuni Mountains. I heard one
Ah.
kind of tracking me during, it was during the summer, but it was um like a cool summer, and like sprinkling, raining all the time and stuff like that. And I would hear like branches breaking behind me, and I thought it was the antlers strapped on my back hitting the branches, but it didn't sound like right near my head, and it sounded further back. And that's when I kind of doubled back on it too. I kind of went straight, and then I kind of circled around. And here I got right up behind it, and I could hear it in front of me, like something big moving, like brushing against the brush in front of me and stuff like that. And I guess right there, he kind of noticed me that I was following him instead of him following me, because I cut back on him and I was actually walking behind him, and I seen just one footprint, and that's on my old phone. And we had a house fire, and that phone was in there, and all those pictures burned up. I took pictures of it too, and it was pretty big to me. It was just by my my field of vision. It was around about like 16, 17 around there, and it was probably about 7 to 8 inches wide in the front, like where the toes are,
Mm-hmm.
like the
Hmm.
ball. And then the back end was like maybe about 4 inches to 4.5 inches, like the ball of the feet. It was pretty big too, and I started tracking it, and it started hopping, like kind of walking on top of like bushes and stuff
Rocks.
like that, like trying to hide his tracks and stuff.
Smart
Oh, I
guys.
could see, I could see like
That's
the
what he does.
branches breaking.
Mm-hmm. He
And then
does that.
after that, I just tracked him to like a rocky outcrop, and then it dropped down into um the creek that comes out from the lake. It went down there, and I didn't want to go in there because if something happens, there's no way to go out of there because it's pretty steep down there, and it's a bunch of trees down there. And once you go in there, he might have advantage, on you because he probably knows the area more better than I do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He's
So I just
ambush
stopped
guy.
right there. I just stopped right there, turned around, and started doing my own business, and just left him alone and stuff.
Pretty
Huh.
smart. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a funny thing too. For whatever reason, I thought of Zuni right when you brought up Zuni Mountains. I thought of it. Uh, yeah, there's Bigfoot out there. Yeah, the Zunis. The
Hmm.
out there in Almaro is where a Bigfoot took a picture of a Bigfoot on Almaro. That's how Don and I met, and that's how brought together by
Yeah.
Bigfoot. Who would have known? But yeah, there's people out there. A bunch of the Zuni Nation people say, yeah, they're out there. To see them on the road every once in a while. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a it's a scary thing to have something peeking at you at night when you're sleeping. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Also had another encounter of another man that kind of drove off on a dirt road and went to sleep out there in the Zuni Nation. And what he what he woke up to was he seen what he would call, or people would call, kachina, a 9 foot tall kachina staring and watching him in the moonlight. Believe it or not, these scenes. I always bring this up is people, the artwork, the Navajo or the First Nation people, and the stories are just they're just not made up. For what they draw is what they've seen, and the stories that they carry with them have value, more value, to
Hmm.
if you believe in everything like this. They just don't draw stuff and tell stories, just to tell them. There's backing to it. It's to them, to us, it's fact.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it makes you wonder about all these Native American stories and their artwork and where it came from. Their creation stories. Uh, it's something that we should just catalog, keep it with us and uh, carry um, along with for ourselves and for the people. So even Bigfoot, Navajos have a name for Bigfoot. So
Hmm.
obviously that guy's real. What else is real? What else is true? That
Quick, if I may add to that, there's stories out from Burnside, Ganado to Holbrook along that highway and along the freeway and all the way to Crown Point area, Mini for or yeah, Crown Point. They've been seeing I don't know if you guys ever seen the picture of the remember the Hopi clown. Remember he has white stripe, black stripe,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and he's eating a watermelon.
Yeah.
Mm.
So they would see him on side the road, 9 to 12 feet tall as well, running
Yeah.
around.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
and
that's
there's
just
blood. Yeah, and there's blood coming
ugh.
down from it. Yeah, yeah. So I have a lot of witnesses that told me that as well. That he's running
Yeah.
around.
maybe 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 Bigfoot probably found a Kachina doll like next to the road and trying to copy the appearance of one of them.
Yeah,
Maybe
You know what?
maybe that might be happening.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe.
Who knows, man? It's the man. This gave me chills just talking about the.
We got
I
we
know what
got.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. It's creepy, huh? So
Mm,
and another one too. Last night, one of the persons that I was speaking with through the link that we put up for the show, she was from Dene.
Hmm.
So
mm,
there they have a lot of land disputes with the Kesanis and the Dene there. So she said that I guess she looked out the window and she might have seen one of those clowns. She said it was black around the eye, like black paint, and around the
Yeah,
mouth, and the rest was white, I think. So
mm.
and
it's pretty
let me see
weird. All right, we have a
what did
question
Kurt
right here.
say?
Oh, Kurt W75 says T ever find any hides or bones? Also, any trees bent to a 90-degree right angle?
Yeah, all the time when I walk through the woods, I always think it's elk, but elk only rubs their antlers like only up to like 5 to 6 feet, and there's branches. I'd say about uh maybe the 6 to 8 inch diameter, broken like maybe 8 9 feet off the ground. I'll see it broken, and they'll be like, I kind of always think that there was elk or heavy wind, but these were green trees, like
Mhm.
pines and stuff like that. And I found a, a bunch of bones like everywhere, all the like places I'll go. That's where I would find like dead heads of deer, elk, and stuff like that. And I see hides and stuff like bear hides, like pieces of them, like no flesh on them, just like peeled. And I seen a bear skull one time, and way up high behind the lookout towers on Mount Taylor, that the skull was crushed, like part of the skull was all like you could tell something cracked the skull because there was like a big old chunk missing out of it. And it was pretty fresh too. It still had like the meat and it still kind of stunk too. I always wondered
Mm.
what would do something like that, like if it was another bear. But another bear wouldn't really crush another bear's skull because bear skulls are pretty thick. It can even stop a high powered gun. If you shoot straight to the skull, it'll just bounce right off.
Mm.
Yep, yep.
Mm.
Something very powerful.
Yep.
My last, I think episode 2, running cream. He said that a lot of the witnesses out in the Blackfeet Res in Montana, they see Bigfoot
Hmm.
carrying a grizzly bear over his shoulders.
Mm.
Some pretty cool stuff. So definitely they eat bear. And see here, right here, Kurt W75 says, "Wow, the stories that guy could tell you, I could only imagine. That's crazy." Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm.
That's why
Hmm.
he's
I had a bunch of experiences like because all summer, like starting from June
wow.
to I'd say August, I'll be in the mountains all the time. Like when I get my free time, I would
Mm.
walk like where people wouldn't walk and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Because when I go shed hunting, I go way past where people go, and I go deep in there, like maybe 15 miles, 20 miles. I usually try to cover the whole mesa and stuff like that. And then when I get to a certain point, I would mark it on my off-grid map, and I'll start back off where I left off, and I'll go to the area that I haven't been to. I'll cover that whole area, and I see like weird stuff in there, like this is here and stuff. I'll see like weird rocks like sitting on top of stumps and stuff like that, or like little balls of like hair and
They're-
like
yeah,
like
they rip
weird
out.
feathers. Yeah, like weird
Yeah,
feathers all bundled up and stuff in between like tree barks and stuff like that. Like someone actually put them there. I don't know. I just kind of thought that was weird.
Hmm.
yeah. Some strange things. Over on the western side, they like to tear out like the wool from the sheep. Like they'll
Hmm.
tear out the back, or they'll tear out the neck. They'll put three puncture holes and drain out the blood. And they'll like the other animals that they couldn't take. They'll pull out the back leg, or they'll like looks they, the witnesses say that they seen him with his finger out like this, and he poked the side of the sheep backside and cut straight down vertical to
Wow.
main that sheep. So you have to put it down and get rid of it. And those guys would put them on top of the bushes, and they would go back the next day, and they would find the wool everywhere, and the sheep would
Hmm.
be gone.
Yeah, that's what
Hmm.
happened to mine too. The one I was telling you about. It was
Oh
like
man,
I'd say a couple 100 yards away from me because the sheep were out there in the evening, and when I took them back in, I noticed I was missing one, and I went to go look for it, and I found just a hide, no bones, no head, nothing, like no animal tracks or anything. Just the hide was like pulled off, like you know how you skin a sheep.
yeah,
There was no meat. There was no meat attached to the fur, and
Huh.
everything was gone. The whole body was gone. I even walked in like a 2 3 mile radius around that area, and I didn't find no bones. I didn't find a head, nothing. And a month later, it happened to one of my other sheeps, like kind of closer to the house during the evening too, like when it's almost dark, because the sheeps they they go out there, they graze, and by the time it's almost dark, they'll head back this way on their own and go back into the corral and wait for me to close the corral.
hmm,
And that happened to another sheep of mine too. There was no head, there was no body parts, nothing, just the fur, and the fur was like scattered all over the place, like how you were saying, like
yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Ooh, oh man,
So,
And I live
T.
I live right by a big mesa, like maybe I'd say a mile away from the mesa.
Hmm.
they like to stay
That's
on me.
where Yeah, that's where I was telling you about the one we heard yelling from that mesa.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's where right around there.
Huh.
that's what's
So,
up.
how close is your neighbors? How far is your neighbors?
Um there's one that lives let me see, like maybe 2 football yards away from me, but they're not like outside people. They just stay inside and they hardly
Oh.
go out. And then the other neighbors, like I'd say 2 miles away.
Hmm. Huh.
Just a little bit, like about 5 people per 20-mile radius. You would say, huh? Like really
Yeah, just like
desolate
further,
population.
just like maybe 5 miles away. There's like houses out there, and then there's like a housing, like maybe 5 miles away toward the north.
Hmm.
Mm,
Huh.
that's pretty
Uh,
cool.
so, who do you talk to you about this stuff? Yeah, what do your grandparents or your parents say about uh, all this stuff that goes on? Obviously, you have a lot of Bigfoot stuff going on. So
Oh
what
yeah.
do they
Yeah,
have to talk to? Yeah.
like you know how um people, like not not to talk down on Christian people, but my mom's Christian and stuff like that. And when I tell her stuff like that, she'll be like, "Oh no, it's nothing. It's probably something else." And they jump to something else, like, "Oh no, it's not."
Yeah.
But my dad would listen, and my dad would tell me, "Oh yeah, yeah," because I guess his past experience and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And he used to tell us a bunch of Skinwalker stories that like what happened to him and stuff. And I would be like, when I was younger, I'll be looking at him like, "Oh, this guy's lying," because when I was younger, I didn't really have an experience until I was like, I'd say 6, 7, 8 years old around there. I started knowing what he was saying was true and stuff like
Mm.
when it gets kind of dark, you guys better hurry up and come back in and stuff like that. And I had
Wow.
bad experience on that when
Yeah.
darkness came and I was way down the ditch and stuff like that. And I had experiences on those.
Mm.
That's how it
Well,
always is, huh? Like we're like, is
Yeah.
are you for real? You know what I mean? Like everyone's telling us these
Hmm.
stories, and you're like, that can't be real. No, like,
Yeah. There's
yeah.
probably people that come across the channel and stuff like that, and when they listen to it, they probably think like, oh, these guys are just making it up to make views and stuff like that, get popular on YouTube. But everything that we're talking about right now is it's all true and stuff like that. And other videos like YouTube, that when I browse it, like when I'm bored and stuff, when you type in like Skinwalkers, it shows something way different. And like the white people, they say, oh, that's a Skinwalker, that's a Skinwalker. And it's like, no, that's not a Skinwalker. If you really see a Skinwalker, you wouldn't be filming it and stuff like that, because they're pretty much they avoid cameras and stuff like that. Even though you try to pull your camera out, they already know and stuff. And all these Skinwalker videos that other other people post that are non-native, or they're not Skinwalkers, just to let whoever comes on to the broadcast and stuff and watch our videos, those are not Skinwalkers. The one we're talking about right now, those are the real Skinwalkers and where they actually came from.
Mm.
yeah.
That's what I just wanted to take off my shoulder, because it's like it just kind of bothers me, like, oh, these are Skinwalkers, but they're not.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
True
this
that.
is
True that.
like educational purposes. I would
Yeah.
call that,
Mm.
yeah, just to misidentify, misidentification, misinformation. I'm sure the government really, really likes that. We're all just throwing this and that out there, and they like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, these guys haven't figured it out. Just let them go crazy. It's not what you know, it's about what you can prove that will
Mhm.
Mm.
that'll make you get gone. They'll take you. And I like to add to that, on that Skinwalker take, like a lot of times equipment would fail, batteries would
Mhm.
drain,
Yeah.
especially when you would be near a portal that would fail. Like I had this camera one time. We were hiking with my in-laws, and the battery drained in my ear. I heard a ringing, and I asked my in-laws, like, "Do you guys hear that?" And we heard a big old wing flying. We looked up. It was the world's biggest white owl. A huge white owl just flew right over us. We
Yeah,
can't.
that happened to us too when I was a younger kid, and that owl was probably big enough to even like pick me up and take me off. It was that big, and when
Mm.
it sat in the tree, it was probably as tall as me back then. I was probably about like maybe 4 feet, 4.5, something like that.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
owl was pretty big, a big
Did
white
you
owl.
did you hear a ringing noise in your ear? Because that's what I heard, like a
Yeah, that
ringing.
when I was walking, it sounded like when you shoot off a high powered gun, that ringing, like right after
Yeah,
you shoot, that ringing. Yeah,
bad,
and
bad.
there was like a big old owl that swooped right on top of our heads too.
It's crazy.
You know,
Same, same.
since you guys brought the ringing up, that's uh, my eyes kind of got bigger for a second. Just you guys hearing this ringing. Uh, when I encountered this, what they call a dog man, I also had ringing. I heard ringing in my ear. I heard crackling in like the back of my head. Like
Oh,
fire, like little firecrackers, and I heard ringing. I don't know what it is, but that's just more information to gather together. Wow.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
The more
But
That's what.
information that we can, the more information that we can give out there for everyone else is the better, you know. But
mm,
Yeah.
please visit Navajo land. Please buy some jewelries. But
yeah,
yeah,
or
go ahead,
or at
T.
least or at least hit us up and we'll try to show you a skinwalker or something.
mm,
Oh man, oh
they'll
man,
probably
yeah,
they probably won't even want to,
oh
yeah.
man.
because once you start talking about them at nighttime, they do come around. They could actually hear you, and they'll come around and start looking, like who's the one talking and stuff like that. And then
Mm,
they start knocking on that person's window, like when they're sleeping, or they'll start like playing with the doorknobs or kicking the door and stuff like that late at night. They'll
Oh
start
yeah,
man.
bothering that person. That's
yeah.
why
It's
I was
kind of
like,
a
yeah, I rather, when I talk about skinwalkers, I rather keep my, my identity
Yeah.
covered, because there's a lot of stuff that happened around where I live and where my parents live. And once you like talk about it like out in the open, you start getting visits at night and stuff, like late at night.
mm,
Like one time my dad was um telling us skinwalker stories, like what happened to him back in the day. And all of a sudden we're just sitting inside the living room and we're talking. We didn't have TVs or anything on, and something came running by real fast. It sounded like a horse, but two-legged, and it kicked the door really hard, and the door actually broke off, like where the doorknob is, that little hinge where the little knob goes through it. That part
Mhm.
actually broke off the door.
mm.
Oh,
Wow. You saying that? Thank you. Uh, I can understand that talking about certain stuff kind of leaves you open to it.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your information, and then also thank you for watching out for yourself and not uh, showing your face type deal. So
Yeah, because they
uh,
could they could just see, or they could just look at the video and see who's talking about it, and they could, just by your pictures and stuff like that, they could throw a curse to you through pictures.
mm, yep, that's when we first jumped on with the UPRN. That was one of the things that I was kind of brought up is we're putting ourselves at risk.
ourselves out
We're
there.
yeah, putting
Yeah.
ourselves out there and talking about stuff like this, and it's real. It
Hmm.
very much is real, and it's a real thing. Some of these stories that we were talking about, um, are is I don't know if it's amazing or frightening to know that this stuff is real. Like these what these people call skinwalkers. They're not made up stories. They're not to keep the kids indoors. They are a real entities and real people that are capable
Hmm.
of doing stuff like this. And even I came seeing prints like that too. I always bring this up is me and my family are like my cousins, my brothers went out for a drive, and we went to a windmill, and it was next to a wash out there in Cameron, Arizona. And my older brother and I were walking together, and we saw a little dog prints, you know, on the riverbed, and we kind of just followed them. And then when it got to the top of the wash, which was like maybe a foot, 2 feet higher, it would turn in. It was barefoot, a barefoot afterwards. So I would like to think that when it changed into this coyote, it just leaped and turned into a human.
Hmm.
It's stuff like this that just makes it all more of the weirder. Like being a Native American and dealing with stuff like this, dude. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
they'll find you.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah,
It's just a common thing. Common. It's almost ourselves, I guess.
yeah,
Being Navajos, we come with stories. We have. I'm still trying to put words together, for this, but
oh, you're good. You're good.
but yeah. Also, I've seen if you look up like Skinwalkers too, they'll show you a picture of. It
Yeah, the
almost
The
looks
two
shape.
warriors. The two
like
warriors.
well, it's out here in the oil field too. One person took a picture of what they thought was a skinwalker, and it's kind of a slender, white, naked
Oh
thing,
yeah.
and it's on its all fours, and it kind of has its head tilted in a weird way.
I've seen that one.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, that's out here in the oil field, so it gets kind of creepy too, driving around here in the oil field in the
Hmm.
morning, you know, shit like that. Freaking scary, scary, and interesting, But
Yeah. Like I have a uncle that was telling us a lot of stories when he was working in Los Angeles. He had this medicine man show up at the bar, at the hotel, at the apartment where he was living in Los Angeles, and he was staying there with another Navajo roommate, and I guess he left the window open, and an owl was sitting on the tree right across from the window, and this owl was speaking to him in Navajo, trying to tell him to tell my uncle to go into the ocean. There's a golden ring in the ocean. Trying to tell him
huh,
to go jump into the ocean and get that ring. So, it's like some strange occurrences like that happen a lot no matter where you are. People think that,
Hmm.
be it beyond the four sacred mountains, their power don't work. Like, no, no,
They
no,
go
no.
everywhere.
They go
mm,
everywhere. Yeah, we
Yeah.
lived in Winnemucca, Nevada one time. They used to come all the way out there and visit us. So,
Yeah. There was one that came to our motel when I was working out in Denver, in the middle of the city. Actually came to our motel, and when I opened the door, because I heard the knob jiggling, and I woke
mm,
up and opened the door, and there was one whistling from behind a trash can. It sounded like
ooh,
one of those bone whistles, and I was
mm,
like,
huh,
that's when that's when I noticed that they could go wherever they want.
yeah.
yeah.
Real
I was
quick,
always told the
guys.
same thing too.
Oh yeah, real quick, T. Let me steer you back onto Bigfoot here because I know you've seen some on the highway, and I know our listeners out there haven't heard that story yet.
Okay. Oh, the one I was coming back from work. That
Yeah,
one.
the
Oh,
Men in
okay.
Black. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that one, the one I seen sitting by the highway, it's like in a remote area. I was driving back from Denver, Colorado, and I got off like at 7, and I got back through the mountain pass around about like 2 or 3 in the morning, maybe 3, and it was a heavy snow, and I was coming through, and I was the only one on the road, and I was kind of going slow because there was no pathways that other vehicles made, and I was just like trying to figure out what where the road was, and I was driving along, and it was pretty heavy, like big snowflakes, and it was coming down pretty good, and I was driving, and I just seen two red eyes, like pretty big. I'd say about 2 inches, maybe a little bigger,
Mm,
that size around, and I seen it just like real quick. I thought it was like one of the side roads, those little reflectors on the metal poles, but
mm,
this one was sitting like straight across, and I was like, no, it can't be, because those ones sit downward. They sit on bottom of each other, but this one was sideways, and it was pretty far apart too from the distance I seen that reflection. And that's when I was looking, I thought it was maybe the predator, because predators have red eyes when you hit it with the light and stuff like that. That's what I thought it was, but it looked way too bigger, and it was pretty high off the ground too. And I didn't really think anything of it. I just seen it quick because once the light hit it, it just like automatically looked like it just turned off. But I guess it turned its head because when I drove right past it, I seen his head kind of move downward, like toward his stomach area, and it was like pretty bright because I had like the LED lights in the ride because those ones they throw out good power, and I seen pretty much the whole silhouette of the body, and I even seen like the actual fur on its body, and it was pretty big too. It was sitting on like on his butt, and his legs were like in front of him, and he had his arms wrapped around his legs and his head tucked in. Like I guess he
Crazy.
was trying to. I guess he was trying to mimic like a stump or a bush, but it didn't really fool me because once the snow was hitting its body, it was just like melting right off. Like you could tell there was body heat right there. And my estimates on the size of it was probably like a full size refrigerator when it was sitting on
Oh,
its butt. That
That's
big it was, and it was pretty wide too. It was like big, like wider than a refrigerator because I could see like the broad shoulder muscles like actually like bulged out, and that's when I seen it. And right when the light hit it, it just like tried to hide its face. It just put his head downward, like towards his knee area, like kind of face away from the light.
Mhm.
And that's when I kind of slowed down, and that's when I kind of looked at it, the side of the beam of the light. That's when I seen it, and it was like a blackish, like to me it looked black to me, and there was no snow sticking on it at all, and I could see it like when I drove past by. I was probably going about I'd say 15, 20 miles per hour because it was the roads were pretty bad, and I seen it move when I passed right by it. And then once I passed right by it, that's when I seen the head kind of pop back up, but I didn't see no eye glare or shine or anything. I just seen like the head pop up, and I seen the arms moving, and I was like, "Hey, there's something else. That's not a stump because if it was a stump, the snow would stick to it because it's already cold, you know. But this one had actual body heat, and that's when I kind of raced home, and I was going probably about 30, 35, maybe 40 on the snow road. I was just like trying to guess where the road was, and I came back and I ran back inside, left a whole trail of snow through the house, and I asked my girlfriend, "Hey, I seen something over there. I seen something over there." She was like waking up real quick, like she thought, you know, I was on drugs or something. She was looking at me all weird, like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I was like in a panic mode. Like that was the first time I seen one, and I was like in a panic mode, and my body felt real warm. My um the hairs like on my body were standing up, and I felt real light, and like my body was so light that I couldn't feel it, and I was like kind of like in a little dizzy, like kind of dizzy. I felt like lightheaded, and like my body felt real light. And then that's when she got up, and we both went back over there. By the time I got back over there, or the tracks that I drove in from already kind of covered up. And once we got there, that person or whatever it was wasn't sitting there. And that's when I seen like straight like two sets of prints, but they were like in a straight line going back up the mesa because that was right off the mesa. Yeah. Because if it was a human, the humans they kind of leave like a gap in between,
Yeah.
but this one was just in a straight line, and I kind of jumped off and I wanted to hurry up and go look at it, but everything else was like already snowed over. And to me, by my like measuring it, like the width of the strides were about like maybe I'd say 4.5 to 5, maybe more, that far apart, and it was just like in a straight line going back up the mountains.
Did you see thermal ridge, like half of the foot broken, where he distributes his weight.
Yeah, it was like a little. To me, it looked
Yeah,
like a little, like a hump inside. Yeah,
yeah, because it breaks his feet, breaks and
yeah, like right in the middle.
yeah,
Yeah,
because he's
that's
heavy.
how it looked. Then
Nice.
it to me, and I thought it was like a rabbit because you know how they hop like in a straight line. But rabbits, I've hunted my whole life, even when I was younger, and they only jump like maybe a foot and a half apart when they're going through snow. But this one was like five, I'd say about 5 feet, maybe more, far apart, and it was just in a straight line, and it just went straight up the mountain from there. That's where that same mountain is where I heard that yelling during the fall time. That's where I heard that noise. That was way before I seen that. That's when I already knew what it was when I passed by it because I seen like the actual fur on there. It looked like a bear fur, but it was way too big to be a black bear because we hardly get black bears here around where I live.
Mhm. That's
Huh.
cool. That's pretty cool. As long as we these guys have patterns, like my predecessor William Jevning said that these guys go through like 2 week patterns. They'll hang out in the area for 2 weeks, go to another area for 2 weeks, another area for 2 weeks, and especially in the fall time, they'll hang around in the same area in the same uh, time period, the same year, and
Mhm.
especially like where there's medicine. Like if you have knowledge of medicine, where to find it, that they also will be around that same area. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of sage that grow on these mesas up here. The
Oh,
Navajo sage, they grow a lot up here.
oh, nice.
Mm.
We got a question here. Are skinwalkers attracted to water?
Uh,
My experience of actually finding a skinwalker where they do their witchcraft, I seen jugs of water there, like 5 gallons, 5 gallons, like 5 gallons of jugs are sitting around the fire. Some were fully drank, some were half drank, and there was like little chairs around the fire that were made of stone. And further down, there was a big flat slab of rock, and there was like crystals, like drawn in like a weird way. I don't know what they were doing with that. And it was like a bunch of crystals, like in a circle, and there was like little designs all over the place with crystals on top of that rock. But skinwalkers, they're not really attracted to water. They take their own water before they do stuff like that. And my mom, when she was younger, she said one actually came to her mom's hogan and asked for water, and actually walked inside because back then they only had the kerosene lamps. And before that skinwalker walked in, it asked my mom's mom, which is my mom's grandma, to turn down the lantern, to turn it down. And she turned it down, and it actually walked inside the hogan. And there was a 5 gallon bucket next to the door, and that 5 gallon bucket was full all the way to the top. And when it was done drinking from the bucket, they said the bucket was pretty much almost empty, and it ran back off, and the dogs chased it off back down the. Um, there's a big ditch where they used to live. It ran back down there. The dogs were chasing it. I guess it just went over to their place. I guess it was passing through and asking for water, and they actually gave it water, and it pretty much drank almost a 5 gallon bucket.
mm.
That's pretty interesting. When you're around the area, did you ever notice like a place where they lay like a blanket down, or in this case hides down, where they would get up in line and they'd run one at a time and roll across that hide and come out whatever animal. Did you ever see anything like something lay
Yeah,
on the ground?
yeah, like someone was rolling around in the dirt around that area. Like
Oh,
I'd
okay.
say because that thing was kind of circle, and there's a main highway just right on bottom, and there's like when from the highway, even if you build a fire, you can't see it from either side. Like from the highway, there's
Yeah.
like a cliff that blocks it. It's like almost like in a little cove area where you can't see the fire from the road, and it's like a little like inside a little pocket.
Oh. Oh man, we got places to go, Darren. No, I was just kidding.
I know. Yeah,
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 that's the
definitely, man,
one.
definitely.
That's the one I was telling you about. Was the one I seen on top of the dirt hill, way on top of the mesa, like right above where they do their witchcraft. Right on top, there's a high peak, and it's all dirt. That's where I seen something drawn inside the dirt with rocks, and then there was a like an eagle feather or something stuck right in the middle of it, and there was like rocks like in a perfect circle around that feather.
Hmm.
Wow, they must like do a meeting there, because sometimes you would find clothing, you would find pictures, or you would find like shoes of taken from different places. And they would have like like a cursing area.
Yeah, there was like you like since you brought that up, I walked around in that area, but I didn't really disturb the area. I just walked in there, and there was like little cracks that had like I don't know if it was people's clothing, like clothing and stuff in between the cracks and stuff like that.
Oh
Like
man, yeah.
further back in the corner, because I'd say about like maybe 15 feet. There's a rock wall like behind it, like a little like a almost not like a cave, but like a big old crack. When I
Mhm.
walked close up to it, that's when I seen like things shoved in between the crack and stuff like that. That's when I already had that weird feeling, because once I approached that area, I started feeling like how you like your first experience of a skinwalker, like when it's around, it, like you
Yeah.
get that eerie feeling. That's how I felt when I was in that area. So I just jumped right off of there and left.
Hmm.
But it was weird though, seeing
Well,
all those jugs of water around that camp.
Yeah, there's also a saying that the spirit that runs with them and gives them that power, it also eats and drinks as well. And when they're not in it, it actually hovers around, and actually it's like a little dog. I heard one of the stories, and they
Hmm.
would give it water, they would give it food like a dog, and it'd go over it, then it'll be gone.
huh,
Some strange
Yeah.
stuff. And
huh,
like when they lay the hides out, my grandpa's story, he seen this himself. My grandpa's father was a skinwalker, and he followed him to this area at this hogan where they were doing all that. His dad told him, "You better not follow. You better not follow." He did. He was like 5 years old. He said, and he said he got up on a high rise area, like a little mesa cliff. Then the hogan was down there. He said he seen his dad go in and a bunch of dudes in. There's a fire inside of that hogan, and he said he can hear what they're talking. They got ready. Everyone that was supposed to be there. They arrived. They arrived, and they laid out like a hide. He said, and the one by one they're singing, they're dancing, and then one by one they ran into it. They jumped. They rolled across that hide, and he rolled out just a regular man. And he's like, "What in the world?" The other guy went. The third guy went. Nothing. And they said the head guy's like, maybe we're singing it wrong. Maybe we did it wrong. Let's try it again. And nothing. And then he said that he heard them. They started whispering, and they said, "Hey, there's somebody watching us out there. That's why it's not working." So my
hmm,
grandpa had to take off, run back to his mom. And he went
uh,
through a lot of initiation as well, because his dad's brother was taught him a death chant. The song, the lyrics said that he's gonna trade his mom's life for that power, that gift, that magic. and his own mom heard him singing that one night when he was 3 years old, and she smacked him. She's like, why you want me to die? My grandpa, he really loved his mom. And when the BIA came, they took all the siblings, but they hid my grandpa underneath a lot of hay. So, he took care of the livestock and all that, and he actually seen his dad take off in skinwalker form. You know, some
Hmm.
some lot of amazing stories to add to that. But yeah, go ahead, T. Or Darren, you got any questions for T? Or you got anything to
Oh
add?
yeah, yeah. Also, these skinwalkers. Back then, uh, I was told that they're they have meetings. I guess you would say they talk, they communicate with one another through ceremonial purposes. I don't know, but I was always told that each one has a feather, and they set it in, and the feathers stand up and they dance and do whatnot and stuff like that. It's really weird, really weird stuff that these skinwalkers do. Mm, I don't know if we should call them skinwalkers, because they're humans, At the end, they're
Messengers.
always,
That's
yeah.
their name is messengers.
Mm,
Yeah.
so just let everybody out there listening, skinwalkers are humans, human beings, witches,
Yeah, yeah. Like I'll add to that right now because like when we went to war with the United States, like a lot of our people, they all met together. All our people, all Navajo Nation, is so huge that it would take 13 days just to meet with all the groups. 13 days straight. So we had 12 war chiefs, or 12 chiefs, my bad. Six were peace chiefs, and six were war chiefs. And, they all present to all the people the case of if we should go to war with the United States of America or should we go for peace. And you know, Benelito, he was one of the last ones to make his rounds, and every time he would make a speech, full of passion. They would say that, and he had the angry warrior face paint on. So I don't know if you guys know the angry warrior for face paint Manuelito wore into battle. So this whole bottom half would be black, and this whole upper half on his butt, like on his eyes and forehead, would be white. So
mm,
and like when we went to war, he had the raiders, the Navajo raiders that would go raid the cattle, the horse, the sheep. Then they had the warriors, the Naba. Then they would have the arrow, the spear makers, the shield makers. Then they would have you know they would have the messengers. Those guys were the skinwalkers. So they would be used for offense back in the day. Yeah,
mm.
a little bit of history right there.
Oh, that's always good too. Um,
Yeah, road
uh,
to
T
the.
wasn't there a story of a Men in Black? Was that?
Oh yeah, yeah. That
Oh,
was I believe a year ago. Yeah, about a year ago,
Mm,
and that was during I believe almost into fall time. That's when I was going to work, I believe, and I was driving up the canyon road, and I seen cops parked up there, and I thought it was like an accident. And I actually pulled over on the shoulder, and the cop came up walking, and I told him, "Is there an accident or is there something going on ahead that I need to take another route?" And he was like, "Oh no, you can go through. It's um just watch out for the people on the side of the roads." And I was like, "All right." And that's when he said, "Yeah, there's this old lady seen something run across in front of her, and I guess that's what they were investigating." So I was like, "All right, yeah." And I went through it, and I kind of was driving slow, and I seen a bunch of police there and some units, black, like all solid black units there, like I believe they were like Chevy Tahoes or something like that. They were black though. I know they
Suburban,
were like, yeah,
Chevy.
like Suburbans, the long ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's when I seen the Navajo Nation cops were standing on the outside of the fence, and those people that were wearing all black were like scamming the fuel and stuff. They were like, to me, it's like they were looking for something. And then I overheard the story from people that that old lady seen a Bigfoot run in front of her during broad daylight, and she actually seen it go across the road in front of her. And I guess those people that were dressed all in black were from the government trying to, cover up
Mm.
stuff like that because they were scamming that whole field. There was like, I'd say five, six of them. There was a bunch of them walking around in the field, and the Navajo cops were just standing on the outside watching them.
Hmm.
They were dressed all in black. White people too. I know they were white people.
Huh.
That's when I thought. That's when I was thinking it was a homicide before I even thought. Before I heard that story leak out from the old lady telling people around the area. I thought someone died or something went on.
Hmm.
jeez. Is it
Yeah.
just me, or does it seem like the men in black are really, really quick to respond on Navajo land? Because in Minot Valley, they're there. You know what I mean? They're quick when something strange like that happens.
Mm. Uh, if you look up JC Johnson, he does an interview with the Navajo couple out there. I forget what town it was, but it was on the Navajo Nation too. And they mentioned uh, Men in Black units coming out, and when UFOs were on top of their house, and what they said they had little aliens running around the Hogan, and the grandfather or the uncle managed to step outside, and uh, he actually managed to beat an alien down with his cane, and the Men in Black
Oh
came by.
yeah,
Yep,
that's in Theroux, New Mexico.
yep,
Oh,
yep. Yeah, and yeah, it's a weird story. I would like to get a hold of those couple and have them
I
tell their
know
story out here too.
I know the area where that person lives too. The one that
the
was telling the
Sonoma.
story, the guy with the glasses.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
And he said that he actually found Bigfoot tracks too during
yeah,
the
yep,
alien raids.
mm, yeah. If you don't mind, we'd like to talk to them and have them on the podcast. If you know,
I think I
send
can
a
do
link.
the footwork. Yeah, I don't mind doing the footwork. I actually need to go to Rama and check it out in your area and check out this high strange activity where T's at. I don't mind camping out and all that good
Yeah.
stuff. Sounds like fun.
Well, yeah, we got this weekend. I got a couple of days off for 4th of July, so I will.
Yeah, I'm
We'll
pretty
meet up
much off
somewhere.
too.
Yep.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
even
the
better.
fourth. The fourth. Oh yeah, yeah. T. We have that. Either we can. Darren. T and I and T's cousin. He was saying that we can try to do some 4th of July. Maybe we can get together. Check out a real scary place. Um.
Yo.
The last guest actually had La Llorona. Going back to Mish's question, attracted to water. So like I was chatting with my wife about that. Like, like La Llorona. You know what I mean? She's on the res. So just chatting like, and my wife was like, "Little Colorado River is connected to the Grand Canyon, and then it goes all the way out to Mexico."
Mm,
So I'm like, "Whoa, snap! Maybe she's a water spirit." You know what I mean?
yep. Yep. That's we talk about episodes afterwards too. Me, just not here, but with my family. It's very interesting stuff. Just sit there and talk about uh, these people experiences. But yeah, this week we'll figure something out, and we'll get the ball rolling on checking out some of these areas.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah. So T, what else you got on your Bigfoot or any strange stories? We got 30 minutes of sunshine left.
Um, there was one that recently happened too. In Acai Lake.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know that lake. I
Yeah,
like
over
that lake.
there we're fishing over there, and there was only a few of us. Like I'd say about maybe three people at the lake, and it was kind of dark too. And we heard like strange yelling too over there, and it was like coming from, I'd say, the west side, west of the lake. To me, it sounded
Hmm.
like the
Tremors.
howl and stuff. Yeah, like a howl person. It was loud too, and everybody else. Once the people that were across the lake heard that, they just packed up and left, and were the only ones there listening to it for a while. I don't know if it
Hmm.
was like trying to respond to someone else like in the area, and
Mm-hmm.
I already knew it was a Bigfoot because of what my past experiences were, like how they sound and like the way they travel and move and stuff like that. And I already knew what it was, and we were just listening to it for a while. And once it got too dark, we just packed up and left from there.
Oh
That
man.
was one that
Uh,
recently happened.
yeah,
Yes.
try setting up cameras around some of these areas.
Especially your
Um,
camp too. Like where you're parked at, just put one like facing the vehicle and another one
yeah.
facing
Hmm.
wherever you're at.
To
Yeah, I think
me,
that's what I would do.
I think they kind of detect
CIR.
cameras and stuff like that, because when I was trying to get like um the full screams and grunts of the one I sent you, it I like for 30 minutes I was hearing it loud and clear until I broke my phone out. It just made we just caught just that last yelling and grunting noise, and after that it just stopped out of nowhere. I guess it already knew that we're trying to record it or something. Like they just have that knowledge that someone's recording, because it just got like dead silent.
Yeah, that just adds to more of the mystery. Bigfoot, skinwalkers, aliens, they always have kind of a shielding or some type of frequency they give off. I don't know, but to make vehicles shut off or, audio equipment go out and, you know,
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's really weird, but, that's just one link they have together. Um, yeah, and
And,
a
and
lot of stuff going on.
yeah. And yeah, you sent me. I should have uploaded it. My bad. You sent me a good picture of all these lights in the sky too. Some UFO
Yeah,
activity.
yeah, that one
Hmm.
happened this year at my mom's house, and that time we're loading up a truck that we're gonna haul to my place to get it fixed, and um, we had like spotlights and stuff like that all over the place while we are trying to load the flatbed with the truck, and all of a sudden we just seen something. I believe it was my cousin's sister that seen it first, because we were too busy trying to load up the truck, and she was all uh like in a almost like a panic, excited like that. She's like yelling and saying, "Look, look, look, look over there!" And we turned around and we seen like a bunch of lights in the sky. It looked like an Amtrak in the sky, but the lights are way brighter, like LED lights, like bright spotlights. And it was
Hmm.
just like, to me, it looked like a train in the sky, but it was like bright lights in the sky, and it was there for, I'd say, about 20 seconds, and till my girlfriend got her phone and she took a picture. And once she took a picture, that's when it kind of disappeared. We didn't hear no like aircraft noises or anything like that, and
Hmm.
it just slowly disappeared. I didn't hear like any noise like it taking off. I think it just like has like a cloaking cloaking ability or something like that. It just disappeared. Like the lights just dimmed and it was gone. And you could see in the sky. I was actually shining my spotlight that way, and I couldn't see anything in the sky.
Hmm.
Like it just vanished out of nowhere.
Probably the cigar UFO, huh? Because
Hmm.
there's like pictures of a long
Hmm.
cigar.
Yeah.
This one was pretty long though, because the mountain where it was, like from my field of vision, it was that mesa where it was at. That mesa was probably about like about two and a half 2.5 miles long, and that thing was pretty much almost the whole length of that mesa. That's how big it
Wow.
was. But in the pictures, it seems small, but in person, when you're actually looking at it, it was big, and it was way closer too than what cameras pick up. This one was, I'd say, about half a mile from us.
Hmm.
Mm,
Wow.
huge.
Uh, well, with Bigfoot comes aliens too, man. You know, because actually this week is the one. I guess you would call it an anniversary of that one, that
For
whole week where we seen UFOs in the sky.
Independence
So
Day, the
yep.
hero we all should remember, that guy that flew right up into the mothership. Speaking of mothership, I, it really that a picture came out on Facebook not too long ago where they captured a huge. They said it had to be 60 by 60. A spear of a mothership right over the Four Corners area. And
Hmm.
last year, that's the same ship I seen right over Monument Valley, and it was shooting out thousands of UFO ships. They're making a circle, they're making a square, triangle, they're falling to Earth, and they disappear. Then they come right back out, shooting out of that one giant ship. And this started at
Wow.
like around 9 in the morning or 9 at night, all the way till like 8 in the morning until you couldn't see. Like the sun came out, and you can still see them. They're all silver flying around, and then the sun got brighter, and you couldn't see it anymore.
Yeah,
Yep.
there was one when I used to live in town. We were traveling, I believe, to Gallup, and there was a cop that pulled over someone, and we were just driving along, kind of slowed down to, kind of get off on the shoulder side to go around them. And all of a sudden, we seen something in the sky, like bright lights, and we pulled over right behind, like I'd say about like 15, 20 feet behind a cop, and we parked and we're looking at it, and I just seen like a big old ship going across on top of us, and my girlfriend
Wow.
seen it too, and we're just watching it. We're just like, we didn't even care to get the phones out because we're like, I
Amazing.
guess in the shock mode, yeah. And we seen
Yeah.
it. It was pretty like, I'd say about maybe a little over 100 feet off the ground. It was moving. There was no noise, no motor sounds, nothing. It was just like quiet, going slowly on top of us, and it reminded me of those rectangle ships on Star Wars.
Oh
It looked
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Like that. And on the bottom, you could see like the actual, like the whatever type of metal they use.
Hmm.
We're just like looking at it, and like you could see the police's lights like glaring off of the bottom of the ship, and it was big.
Wow.
It was like
Hmm.
a couple 100 feet long. It was pretty big. And there was like weird lights like going in circles, like different strobe lights going on it.
Wow.
And then we just seen it pass right by, and it went into the open, and we just lost sight of the lights. And we were gonna tell the police officer, but we didn't want to disturb what he was doing. I guess he was doing like a traffic stop at that time.
Hmm. Oh man, you don't
Wow.
want to get in the middle of that.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. It sounds like New Mexico for you. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the last.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was probably like the closest one I seen was that one. It didn't really make any noise though. It was just like quiet and hovering over. It was going pretty slow. And then once it went like off the road over the railroad tracks, we just lost sight of the lights that were on it.
Hmm. Yeah, they
Wow.
make a weird humming noise. Like my little brother, he hunts every year out in the Blue Mountains outside of Blanding, Utah, Monticello, Utah. I don't know if you guys know
Hmm.
that. So he
Hmm.
hunts there every fall. I hunt the Chuskas every fall. He does Blue Mountains, and he said that they're around the campfire late one night, and he said that they heard like a humming, and he said the closest thing he can describe to the noise was an old Superman movie, like a weird background noise, like
Yeah.
yeah, futuristic
Hmm.
type of noise. He said this thing was just right above the tree line. He said the trees kind of moved like this a little bit. He said this thing came flying right over them, right above the campfire. He said everyone was just looking at it. They watched this thing go up and it just, just cruising to the forest. He said the trees
Yeah.
were making noises too.
I think
Yeah.
they
Hmm.
probably use like magnetic fields because when you put like a magnet, like a heavy magnet to another one, you could hear like a humming noise. And then
Oh,
like when you turn it the opposite way, it pushes the magnet like really quick, like blinking of eye, you'll see the smaller magnet fly. Now when you turn it back, the magnet flies quick back to the big magnet. I think they kind of use like a magnetic field on our planet to move quick like that. That's what I think. I don't know if how other people think about how they move, but to me, I think it's like magnetic because with the magnet, like if you get a bigger magnet and a tiny magnet, when you put it close to it, that magnet will fly quick and stick to the big magnet. And then when you turn it the other way, it throws a little magnet like quick off the table. Like to me, I think they use like magnetic stuff
magnetic
because
field.
because it's
Yeah.
how they because it moves quick and I'm sure because magnets they move quick. When you get a bigger magnet and a smaller magnet, they move fast.
Well,
That's
the
pretty cool.
possibilities are endless. Uh, there's no professional, you know, out
Yeah,
UFO people. So, uh, you know,
We need that
it could.
technology.
Yep. There's no professional in the
They say
paranormal
yeah,
field.
the
So,
they say the triangle one are the governments.
yeah, I heard that
Um,
too. I heard that.
yeah, and I actually had a person that I once worked with. She said her son works at a local secret base here in Utah, and they said that they're working on a triangle black one. And
Hmm.
on the reservation, I had another witness that seen one parked on a dirt road. They said it had to be 20. The diameters of 20 by 20 by 20 is a triangle, all black. And at each tip of the triangle has different lights flashing.
yeah.
And
That's how I seen that one. The one that went on top of us. It
oh,
was
that's
like a
that's cool.
triangular shape, and there was like strobe lights.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
strobe. That's what's up. I seen the biggest one, or one of the big ones I seen was in Salt Lake City. Like one evening, like around 6 in the evening, was a
Hmm.
giant. Was a giant triangle one, and then in the center it had an opening. I don't know if you ever seen that kind before, you guys, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen that one around. Oh, yeah.
Uh, yeah. It's one of the weird things, man. It always gets weirder. The more we talk about it, the more connections we put together. Just draw a line, dot right here, dot over here. Oh shoot, over
Hmm.
here. Actually, when I was out in Kansas City working, we were I was driving to like the Walmart, getting some warm clothing. Uh, I actually looked up on the in the sky and I seen lights. I could draw them out. I seen them. I seen those same lights twice, and one was to actually driving back to the house from Odessa. So this was during the first one I seen was out there during the COVID. You know how the Navajo Nation they had lockdown too.
Hmm.
On my side of the reservation, it was the same. And me and my brother Pedro, uh, we're watching a movie. You shouldn't watch a movie while you're driving, but we're watching Goodfellas. And
Don't do that, guys. Don't do that.
yeah, I don't recommend that. So don't do that. But we're watching a movie on his phone, and he went back. He's like, "Well, we're we had it on Bluetooth, and he's like, "What did that guy say?" And then he went back, and I kind of rest my arms on the steering wheel, and I looked up, and I was like, "Holy shit, Pedro, look!" And he kind of just looked below. He's like, "What is that?" Like, bro, I don't know. And it was just me, everybody that was driving on that freeway. I think it was one I-80 or I-40 right there. Everybody saw it, and those lights are the same lights that I seen out there in Kansas City. And my brother, he took a picture of that one, so I have a picture of it. But it's one of the weirdest things, You've seen two weird lights formations in the sky. It got so bad that the whole, I think the whole town of Grants, uh, New Mexico, seen it, and I actually managed to stop at a Allsups, and the people were talking about it too out there. It was large. It was pretty big. If you were gonna put like your finger or your hand across in front of you, that's pretty much the length of those lights were, and they started flickering off from the outside, and they had a large bright one in the middle, and that was the last one to burst, and we just we just looked at each other like, what the hell? And we're trying to get back home, so we end up taking dirt roads, and after a while, my brother's like, man, those lights are freaking me out, and your podcast that you're listening to is creeping me out too. so man, it's weird, but just manage to see stuff, have the eyes for it, I guess.
I think we're lucky. I think we're lucky. But T, you got any weird strange sightings, encounters that you haven't shared with us, with anybody else?
Um, I remember being followed by the Skinwalker during the evening.
Oh, snap. Yeah, go for it. Tell us that one. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that one was back where we lived, and I was walking back from my grandpa's place because he lived like I'd say about 5 miles. I was probably about I'd say 12, 13 at the time, and I was walking and I decided to drop down into the ditch because it was a pretty big ditch and that kind of came through where my house was, and I was actually walking through there, and you get to hear like little pebbles falling around behind me and stuff like that, but I thought it was like from me walking down the hill and like the leftover rocks falling tumbling down and stuff. And all of a sudden I just had like a weird feeling, and I didn't really think anything of it because it was during the day, and I didn't really think they were out during the daytime. And that's when it came up right over the hill because I was kind of going like in a straight way, like a big open area, and right where I came walking through, I seen one coming down from there, and to me, it it didn't really look like he was um like formed into like the full animal because it looked like a human walking on all fours, and his face was all painted and stuff like that. It was weird though. Back then the paint was different. It was like multiple colors included on their face and stuff, and it was it just like kind of kind of freaked me out at first, but I didn't really think anything of it because there was still daylight, and I was like, why is it moving around and stuff? And I guess I kind of took that person's route because where my mom and my dad live, right down like a few hundred feet, there's like I believe they're like my family members, but the old guy that lived down there, I guess that was him coming back from his rounds and stuff, and I accidentally walked on his path back home because I guess they take that that ditch because that ditch runs all the way past their house too. I guess he was trying to hide out, going back to his house. And then that's when I told my dad about it, and this one he was telling me like, yeah, once it gets in the evening time, you better hurry up and come back because they're still out there in the daytime. They try to take, find their way back to their homes and stuff like that, and they take ditches and stuff like that, like ravines, to hide themselves to
Hi.
get back home. Yeah, because that guy he used to come over and he tried leaving snake skins inside my dad's house, and he even tried to put one inside my dad's wallet. And my dad found it, and he told him, "Hey, come back over here in Navajo," telling him, and he's, "Oh, you forgot something." And he came back in and he got that skin and gave it to him. He said, "Here, I don't want this. You can take it back. I know you put it here." And after that, like I think a half a year later, that guy passed away.
Oh,
And
Is that
that's what my dad was saying. He used to tell me when I was younger, he used to tell me, "Don't go down there, stay away from down there. That guy is no good." I didn't really think anything of it. I thought he was just like a mean person or something, but after knowing everything, that's when I kind of put the puzzles together, and I guess he was the one that was doing the witchcrafting. Because when I was growing up, when I was younger, they would come over all the time. They would like try to kick the door open, jump on the roof, shake the stovepipe,
what
peek
the?
in the windows, stuff like that.
They're
And
just
my
no
dad
good,
was,
huh?
yeah, my dad was telling me that it's that person down there that's doing it.
Wow. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, he
crazy.
had some weird like buck, like maybe a buckskin or like a robe on or something, like the Navajo robes or something like that. He was trying to cover himself. I guess he was probably, to me, he looked like he was naked or something, like he was trying to cover himself up,
Yeah.
but he was actually like on all fours coming down the hill behind me. And he was about, I'd say about 60 feet behind me. Then that's when I kind of noticed it, and I kind of picked up my speed going home. And then that's when I told my dad about it, and he was telling me, "Oh, Leishi," talking about that guy down there.
Yeah. It's probably that
And
guy.
then yeah, I guess he didn't have any clothes on because he was trying to cover himself up, because I could see his legs like from his thigh down and like from his shoulder down, like he was wearing no clothes.
Man, that's pretty crazy. I want like the snake skin because like at my grandmother's place, they would leave a bone and like
Yeah.
some hair and all kinds of things inside. And this is one of the first time I heard of snake skin. Like I wonder what that does. It's really interesting. Just
Yeah, they say they say Navajo way. They say it gets you real sick, even though like if you're hiking or out and about, when you see snake skins, they tell you don't touch it or don't kick it with your feet because
yeah,
you get like sores and you start getting sick from it. Even if you just touch the snake skin, you get sores on your hands and it starts spreading all over your body. That's why they say don't the natives not supposed to be touching snake skins and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. Like my grandpa said the same thing. He said like you're not supposed to even pick up a snake, touch a snake, grab a snake, hold a snake, all
Hmm.
that, because like it'll go on to your kids and your kids will have like scoliosis or arthritis, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They'll have that going on with them. Yes, pretty interesting. All that all intertwines together.
Oh
Very
yeah. While we're talking about skinwalkers, there was one that when I used to drink when I was younger, we're at a big party. You know how big parties are. There's like a bunch of people, and you got kegs of beers and big bonfires and stuff like that. There was
yeah.
actually one standing in the crowd with
Oh,
us.
huh.
oh man. You remember how it looked?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was it. To me, it was like like a person standing, but he was wearing to me it looked like moccasins because I was kind of buzzed up when I actually seen it, and it was
Yeah.
like wearing like moccasins, and it was wearing um like a skin
Hmm.
those how do you say the Mexican ponchos. He was
Yeah.
wearing almost
Mm,
like a skin poncho, and his
Well.
body was all like rubbed down in ash, like because his
Hmm.
body was all gray,
mm,
Yeah.
and he was wearing like almost dressed like a mountain man, like back in the old days. You know how they have like the furs on their head and stuff. And
Yeah.
his hair was real long and dirty too. Like you
Oh,
could tell
bushy.
he didn't wash. Yeah, he didn't wash his hair and stuff like that. And he was actually
mm,
standing among everybody. That's when one of my buddies were standing, like kind of close, like near me, and he seen it too. And
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, what the f is that? What the you know?" And stuff like
mm.
that. And that's when those people that were standing next to it, they like looking around like where, and he's all pointing over there, and they actually look. Both of them looked toward that person, the one that were standing by him, and they freaked out, and everybody just ran off and left everything there and jumped in their rides and left, and we
Yeah.
never went back. We never went back in that area. And I guess one of my buddies that lived in the area was saying it was a guy from right down the road down there. He came up to see what we're doing, and he wanted to chase us off the area. I
He
guess that
did.
was
Huh.
him that was doing it.
He just did what he
Yeah.
went out to do. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, we
I
got
know
less than
public.
2 minutes or 3 minutes. Less than 3 minutes left,
yeah.
guys.
So like
Oof.
native people when they drink, that's when they're really vulnerable. They'll
All the
come by
time.
and
Yep.
Hmm.
they'll do something to them, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. They pick on people like that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
on our side of the res, they'll come up with the more beer. They'll drink with you, and then they'll start stomping their feet. Then you'll see a
Yep.
donkey feet and all that. What were you gonna say,
Yeah.
Darren?
Oh,
Uh, also had one story that was told to me too about gatherings like these, public, partying, drinking. I was actually told one story of a man who actually picked up a curse that came with a 30 pack of beer at a party, and
Oh man.
he was actually he's actually asked to take care of something in the just being drunk and just wanting to get more beer. He said, "Yeah, I'll take care of it." Oh, yeah, and I guess that lady told him, I'll give it to you later. Go ahead and drink. I'll meet you in the morning." Type deal. That lady never came back, but after that, he got tormented by what he would think as a tooth fairies. I guess what they used to do is they used to eat on his fingernails and toenails to the part where they started bleeding, and eventually he just started taking food to bed and stuff
Dang.
like that to get away with it. So it's really weird, man. It's a weird story that was told to me, uh, working on night shift once. But
Oh man. That's a good one. But hey,
mm,
our time's coming short, and I'm gonna have to cut you guys off here, kick you guys off, and say goodbyes to everyone. Kurt W75 says, "Thank you, T, for your time, knowledge, and stories. It's really appreciated." Don, Darren, great conversation. Thank you guys for your time and knowledge as well. Peace.
yeah,
Stay safe. Keep telling your story. Alrighty,
yep.
guys. Say laters. I'm kicking you guys
Later.
off.
All right.
all right.
Thanks,
See you
T.
guys. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, man. Stay tuned. Don't take off. Thank you for tuning in to Don't Whistle at Night. We have been broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching us, guys. You guys have a great night. Take care. Keep your eyes open out there. Peace.